and Jeremy, and I reach out with both of them. And I'm like, Jeremy, can we continue like Flow app development? Like, I know you're real busy these days. Like, maybe we can get Alex to pick up on the development. And Alex is like, nah, not gonna happen.
Kidding me?
BlackBerry 10 is dead. Not going.
No, no, no. Dude, like the reinvestment it would take to, I literally. Oh, are we live?
Yes,
yeah,
Alex.
we're live.
We are live on episode number 57 of Upstream. This one's entitled Social. We've pulled in some of our fan contributions on the topic lists here. We're going through a couple little things.
That was all part of the program, folks. Don't get excited. Don't get nervous. It's all part of the show.
I'm pretty sure I just saw like a giant burst of fire. in my kitchen. I'm sorry. We're off to our great start so far. So, again, we really appreciate the BBM Channels community reaching out and giving us these topics. We're going to start talking about what we expect to see from BlackBerry in 2016. So, what do you guys think? In a year from now, are we going to see a major change? Maybe a slowdown on the hardware side of things, or what?
I think it was more or less going to be in the same spot. Anyone wondering why I have glasses? Because Alex punched me earlier before. No, these are actually James' glasses. He left them here when he
Oh, God.
Yeah, no, thanks, James, for.
And I hate you.
Anyway, these are James' glasses. He left them here when he was visiting me here in New York. I think right now they're playing a touch-and-go kind of game. I think BlackBerry is going to take it as it comes, and it's too difficult right now. You know, they're really tightening down the clamps on what information they give out, and we'll be covering the Security Summit next week, or this week coming up, trying to get an idea more or less what we can anticipate for the next year. But I don't think there's too much to say right now. Everything's in mostly question marks.
How much is actually going to come out of the Security Summit that's going to give us like a forward-looking vision of what BlackBerry's doing? Like, well, I don't think too much is going to happen there. That's going to be an indicator of the future, unfortunately. Right.
I think a lot of people are hoping that Chen's gonna whip out like a phone or something, which he's not though. Like he's changed kind of the way he's been acting towards this. He's been very hush hush. I can't imagine he'd do anything crazy at all.
All right, I'm gonna lay it in. Here's what's gonna happen, guys. 10.4 SDK is gonna be released.
And it's Android.
And it's Android. All it is the Android API list. No, but I mean, you know, in 2016, a year from now, where I really think BlackBerry is going to be is just in a stronger place in terms of their software game, right? They're going to be able to make some money again. And as we see the software revenue declining from BIS, BlackBerry Internet Service, we're going to see the rise of these acqui-hires, basically, that BlackBerry has gone through with SecuSmart, Movirtu, Watchdocs. None of that has really hit the earnings reports so far, right? So now it's starting to make money on those things and build out the canvas for what they have with BES 12. I know BES 12.2 just came out, so very likely the Security Summit is going to rehash some of the news that in regard to Google Android for Work, Samsung's Knox, and the interconnectivity of BES. So we're going to see just more of the same, right? And really, I feel like that is 2015 for BlackBerry, right? I still say 2015 is the year of all touch for BlackBerry, and this slider may just define that for us. So it'll be interesting to see kind of where they are a year from now. Do you guys think really we're going to slow down on the devices, maybe not see them next year, or what?
I don't think there was ever like a huge pace of devices to begin with, because I mean, if you look at it, right, it's like you got a lot of devices. You got like the Z30 you had with the Leap, Classic, Passport, cool, but it's how many of those devices can you really consider? One, like with the Z3, when it released, it was like a region-specific device. You know, only thing we kind of seen here, states out in the North American region, has been the Classic, the Leap, and the Passport, essentially. So I think they've came out in their own right in terms of the timing has been, you know, pretty much on track where BlackBerry's always been to. But I don't really feel like we've gotten this plethora of devices to begin with. I think it's always been more, the software has just been picking up the pace, and it's consistently picking up pace, if anything, with the software updates, updating us with the future with like 10.3.3, you know, them giving us an update as soon as, you know, the global rollout of 3.2 was launched. They were saying, hey, we're already working on 3.3. So don't really worry about it. It's already in the works. It's coming soon. So I think they're making like a pretty consistent space. I don't think you're really going to see a decline in terms of the hardware. Chin has said he doesn't want to leave the hardware alone. He doesn't want to stop it, but he knows where his profit is at, and the profit is the software. So you're going to see more of a focus for BlackBerry, towards software. And that's fine. I think that's completely fine. Because the more money they make, essentially the more focus later down the road they can put for hardware. And so, they got to get back to, the relevance of being a big competitor, not just in the enterprise space in terms of security, but just software overall, getting people to use their services, because they have great services, but they have to get them on board. They have to really buy those people over in all spectrums to say, hey, use these services regardless of your platform. Bez is really, I think, jumping off, and it's really catching ear to these corporations, to these companies, especially overseas and now here stateside. So, I just really feel like their pace has always been consistent.
Yeah, there's a lot of R&D that goes into developing a new device, and like the Passport, like they showed it off. There was really a lot of thought that went into it, and of course, like the device needs to pay off for the R&D, or it was a waste at the end of the day, right? So I guess rehashing the Passport 3 times, just like hoping they pay off the R&D for the Passport. That's one way to do it, but I can't imagine that they're going to go too crazy with devices. They're probably going to focus on like, here we're going to do all the R&D for this, for one device by us maybe, and the rest is going to be either partnerships, like what we've been seeing with Samsung, or just like, hey, Foxconn, you just make the design, you have our specifications, and I feel like they're definitely going to step away a little bit, because R&D is expensive for hardware that doesn't make any money.
Yeah, it really is, and you want to make sure that the slider is right when it comes out. You don't want to, especially with what they have with the sleeve, you don't want them to just come out with some half-baked device that has been not just anticipated by your BlackBerry loyalists, but I think people across the board are seeing it as well. And so and BlackBerry wants to make sure that this device is going to be great on the all touch side of things, as well as a physical side as well. We don't know exactly what this is. There's a lot of rumors. There's a lot of just hypotheticals that are out there in reference to the slider. But I think whatever it is, they want to make sure it's right. It could be last minute changes now in terms of the specs or in terms of the software, specifically what the software is going to be combined of, what it could be. Speculations of Android or BlackBerry 10 or a mixture of both.
That's something Darius that was asked on our channel. Someone's like, would you guys speculate on what kind of software or features are going to be bundled with this? And Blaze mentioned this on our previous cast last week, where the interview that he did with, I think it was CBC, Amanda Lang. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, it was one of them.
Yeah, it was CBC's Amanda Lang, and the interview that they did there. He talked about how he's really trying to create innovative software so that people can really latch on. And maybe, as Alex and Darius mentioned, it'll feed forward and maybe bring people back to devices in a couple years. So again, you put your money where your mouth is now, build out the things people use, and then you bring it over. And Blend seems the same way, right? Like, why do I need a BlackBerry desktop OS when I can have Blend on any desktop OS, right? Just make Blend better, and it's more modular for them. So I mentioned this in a tweet, and I wanted to hear what you guys thought. This is obviously a BlackBerry device, but if we slide over here, we have this side menu, right? And on BB10 and the hub and other apps, you can actually dock that menu with those little side icons. Imagine if those icons were actually on the slider curved edge, so that like basically your hub would always stay front and center with some of the overflow stuff on the side. So like literally on any point on the device, you'd be able to access anything nested within the application in terms of the overflow and the left side menu. It'd be kind of cool when you'd see all that stuff, but it wouldn't directly be in your way. What do you guys think? I mean, what kind of things to the edge can BlackBerry bring? I mean, it seems kind of gimmicky otherwise, right?
I mean, that example right there seems to be like the prime example that everybody would like to see implemented on there. But I mean, when it comes down to it, they could go well beyond that as well and implement a few other things. I mean, they could have it changing, as you progress through applications and so on and so forth. But I think at this point now, where that Android rumor has sort of been tossed in there as well, it's hard to speculate on what they could actually do with it without actually knowing whether or not it's running BlackBerry 10 or whether or not it's running BlackBerry or Android or some combination in between. Can you integrate Android apps into that? Is it going to be an Android app that can be running on there? I mean, it's really hard to speculate, but I mean,
it's so hard to speculate on speculation about speculation.
Right? I mean, it's difficult to imagine what they would actually use it for, because I mean, even Samsung doesn't necessarily use that edge for too many things. They use it for your incoming calls and, you know, some notifications and the message scrolling and stuff like that, which isn't really, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not really that creative on the whole. There's a whole lot more that they could have did with it, especially given the landscape of applications that are available on Android. But you know, they also said that that's something that they're, you know, still continuing to improve upon, and developers have access to that. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, the example that you gave is pretty much the prime example that I would think of in terms of the actual use of it. I mean, having the hub and everything like that, and any hub compatible apps on the side would be really interesting. It's almost like a new way of accessing the hub without actually, you know, having to do any swipe gesture or anything like that. You just hit the icon that you want, and you're dumped right into the hub, right?
And even like if you take that even further, right? So you have the different like nested icons on the left-hand side, but there's also icons on the overflow side of things. So imagine again if you just have the icons nested, right? Just like we have the keyboard shortcuts, you literally have like full access to the app. Aside from like the swipe down settings, like everything would be there. It'd be cool, but you know, from an enterprise perspective, there's like no benefit to that. You know, like it saves you a second, half a second. I mean.
And then there's also like you have to really think about like usability and everything, and like even though it seems convenient always having it there, it's considered an overflow menu for a reason. Overflow because you're not supposed to use it that often. So always having them in your face might sound great, but stuff starts getting in the way and distracting and annoying. You don't always want all of these options there. Because like I saw some of the, you know, the Edge, you know, pictures and videos of it with all of these spare icons on the side, like a lot of small ones on the home screen with a bunch of more icons, and it just gets overwhelming that there's tons of icons on the right, tons of icons on the front, and it's just like too many options too. So you really have to be careful about it.
I work with two people that have the Edge, right, and I always see them. They never really use, you know, the icons, you know, to the quick tap icons or whatever, you know, to access certain applications. Why? Because that button is always at the bottom of the screen. You just tap and take you right back there. And I think it's more of a habit, but I think the aesthetics are everything when it comes to the software and how they implement it. Because, you know, Blackberry prides himself on simplicity. You know, it's swipe here, swipe there, boom. It's just too easy to get around the OS itself. You know, why make it a little bit more complicated by adding this, you know, that and the third into the OS? I mean, if you have Android running, you know, using those different services or different applications as the hub and security features and what have you, I think it just makes it that much better. But I mean, James made a really great point, because you can always use those curved edges for those type of things. It just, does the aesthetics really add up within the software to make it viable, make it where you're adding on to the productivity of the OS at the end of the day? I think that's what's everything in term, especially on the enterprise.
I think we lost him there.
On the enterprise, someone finish it.
He just dropped. No, that was a mic drop, if anything. I mean, I said this on BerryFlow one-on-one. If anybody's listened to that, I mentioned, you know, this device seems like something very geared toward the medical field. Passport was kind of like, you know, content consumers, content creators. You know, this is a device for you, big screen. But again, this kind of curved, you may be able to get some out of it in terms of like 3D, you know, be it 3D like sonograms or things of that nature. To quote Darius. I had to throw just a little bit of shade there, Darius. But there's really a lot of venues for them at this point, and it's so hard to talk on it because there's so little viable information at this point, aside from what we've been teased on. So without a real clear pathway as to what's going to come, the possibilities are obviously going to be endless. Jubei, what do you think BlackBerry is missing at this point in terms of software? I mean, okay, and when I ask that question, let's just avoid channels altogether, because we just watch BerryFlow number 17, 25, 32.
Some Alka-Seltzer.
He had some Mexican food, guys. We apologize if he's coming through the audio stream a little bit nasty.
I thought it was a great. Someone from the BerryFlow commented. I'm sorry, on the BerryFlow channel commented when we were looking for topics, trying to see quickly who it was. Brought up, what is it that BlackBerry seems to be missing now? Now, this is, of course, aside from obviously apps, and I think it's a great question because we have all these devices, we have these different OSs. And if you eliminate apps from the equation, what are we really left with? It's arguable that the iPhone is nothing but a glorified app launcher. If you eliminate all the apps people download on the iPhones, what are you really left with?
A good camera.
A camera, yeah. If you same with Android device.
See, this is the thing that bothers me, right? Like BlackBerry's got a great camera, just the software sucks.
Yeah.
Period. Point blank. They have a job transition out because it sucks, right? I mean, they're aware of their problems, but I also think to avoid some of them, they're changing the strategy, right? So
the
people
software
hate
company whose software sucks. Is what you're saying right now?
They're a software company, but their software prowess is in security, not a fucking camera, not a camera module. I mean, this is something we might have mentioned on our last stream as well, that everyone's going, oh, the Samsung partnership, this device must be Samsung influenced, but the specs that we have that are alleged are basically the LG G4. And LG also has curved screen technology very similar to the S6. So is it totally a Samsung-inspired thing, or is that all just enterprise, or are they working with Samsung on the device? I'd like to hear maybe something on that actually comes out, like where they source these parts from. Because I feel like John Chen is not the kind of CEO who's going to say, yeah, we worked with this guy to get this guy to get that. He's just going to be like, nope, here's the device, period, point blank, let's market it from there.
Yeah. I mean,
as soon as they said dual curved edge display, everybody instantly thought Samsung because of the Samsung Edge display, but nobody actually thought LG. And as we mentioned before, LG was apparently poking around at BlackBerry a few years ago when they were up for sale, so who knows, right?
But Blaze and I both heard rumors about like a curved flex display type device that was going to be LG powered, and of course never came to fruition. But a lot didn't come to fruition back when Heinz was on board.
Well, going back to the original question, as far as like what's BlackBerry 10 missing right now as an OS, it's interesting. I think it's worth discussing because, like I said, you take away apps from all the devices out there, from a Windows to Android and iPhone and BlackBerry, what are we really left with? And I don't know about you guys, something more specific that BlackBerry... I do know that the BB10 OS could use a lot of refinement. I know that already. I mean, just aesthetically, I know that there's still a lot of like maintenance and stability and bug issues that need to be ironed out to make the experience a lot more fluid. It just seems that they're pushing out updates and the features and everything that they're adding is all well and good, but it's not really as polished as it should be. And you get like a discrepancy or some sort of fragmentation with the experience that people have. Some people with still hanging on to the Z10 devices, the Q10s, and then people with the Passport, they're starting to see some, performance differentials, and it's
a little bit less than seamless, right? It's one of those things where you're working across like generations of phones at this point, right? I know it was only 2 years ago, but that's a long time.
It's such a tough position BlackBerry's in right now because Apple puts out one phone a year. You know what I mean? And
Two.
We ask the question: is BlackBerry going to slow down their devices? Like, well, they put out 4 a year.
Yeah.
It's double what Apple does, and
literally 6 times less marketing.
Yeah. So
we're talking about what BlackBerry needs. That's what they freaking need. They need marketing. I mean, it killed me to no end. consumer education is probably one of the most expensive things to do in any industry.
Yeah.
Because to sell something, you need to educate people. That's why like shopping networks like QVC are so powerful, because for those people sitting at home, it's a full demo of what you're buying, and then the ability to buy right there with a good, with a good deal. I wish there was more information going out to not only the. Go ahead, Jubei.
That you helped me understand, James. And we joked about it before, and I said, you're absolutely right. BlackBerry is trying to carve out a niche in what they refer to as the business enterprise segments. I'm going to put my glasses for this one as well.
Yes.
And, we spoke about the target audience that BlackBerry's been seeking after, right? Business, enterprise. Then the name prosumer came up. But then you said something that was so simple yet profound. That said, you know what? Consumers are the enterprise. Enterprise people are consumers. BlackBerry 10 is for everybody. And I think
on that note, Jubei, Dallin, his name, whatever his name, that guy who is going to be hosting our next podcast, which we'll talk about that a little bit later.
We'll talk about this another show.
Because we have no deadlines for that whatsoever. Oh God, we need to get on that for sure. But Dallin did a fantastic article entitled what you just said, Blackberries are for everyone. He made a data visualization, like a Venn diagram type thing of like BlackBerry, enterprise, business, we versus them, and this image is like money. It sums up what we were just discussing to a T. So we have a lot more coming on that, and the fact that BlackBerries are really for everyone. It's just people don't know they want one. Just like people didn't know they wanted an iPhone till Steve Jobs told people you want an iPhone.
Right.
I think they're realistically just trying to say that enterprise cares so much more about security. The average consumer, if you ask them about security, they really don't give a crap.
No.
Like Google exists because people don't care about security, for instance.
Normal people don't care about security.
Yeah, so they have to market it towards the enterprise because that's like the only people. Like it doesn't mean that it's not a consumer device or consumer operating system. All it's saying is the focus is on enterprise because they are the people that appreciate what we have to offer.
But if you think about it, isn't the enterprise like just regular consumers as well, especially in a day?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's bring your own device. So it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. It's like they're going to either choose whatever device they do and they're going to bring it to work and they're going to use it on the enterprise system. But if you can put BlackBerries in their hands, then yeah, you're talking to the regular consumers on a day-to-day basis. It makes perfect sense.
Well, you just nailed it. I mean, it's like, why did BYOD exist? Well, how did that become to begin with? Consumers.
And that's exactly what Chen was saying.
Business. And so now I'm thinking maybe BlackBerry should adjust their marketing if they're non-existing marketing.
Yeah.
And
No. Let's be fair to BlackBerry in regards to their marketing, because a lot of people, even I have said that their marketing absolutely sucks, and their marketing does suck. We look at it at somewhat of the consumer level. They do have enterprise marketing that people don't necessarily see, because we're not in those exact specific situations to be able to go ahead and see that marketing. There is marketing there. It's just not the marketing that we would want to see as consumers buying these devices. We want to see people in Best Buy giving demos to people. We want to see ads on TV. We want to see people out there and letting others know about BlackBerry 10. We want to see those BlackBerry 10 buses and trucks that they had at the beginning, but that's not the marketing that they're into. It's generally not fair to say that BlackBerry doesn't have any marketing. It's just marketing that we're not seeing because it's all inter-channel.
Do you think, though, that BlackBerry is hurting themselves by limiting that marketing to just that instead of just expanding?
But you're talking about the people who are the people who have BYOD. But a big problem is what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Because the IT department is saying you can have Android or iOS. So you think the consumer's going to go buy a BlackBerry because they've been sold on a BlackBerry and go to the IT department and they say no? Because I'm telling you that so many of these large companies say you can have an iPhone, you can have an Android. Yep. You cannot have a BlackBerry. So you have to tell enterprise the enterprise has to finally allow BlackBerry, and then consumer could be like, I'll get a BlackBerry.
And with you saying that though, Alice, it's like that's exactly where BlackBerry is actually spending their money. They're going to these companies, they're showcasing these phones, they're having these events for enterprise customers to let them know of the leap, because they say, you know, our customers are asking for all touch device. We want to give them the great design device. That's actually where they're spending their money. They're not spending it though in the big box stores. They're not spending it alongside carriers to promote devices. If me personally, what I think BlackBerry is missing, and I know there's so many variables that have to add to this, but I feel like BlackBerry is missing like I would say 2 devices, and they have to be like the 2 flagship devices annually. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to give an all-touch device every year, and then you have to give the physical keyboard device every year. Which whether it be the Passport or whether it be, I don't know, whatever, you know, you want to name your all-touch device. You know, it's like HTC, right? For example, you know, they keep coming out with this device every year, and when you look at them in the Android runnings, like they really decline, but they keep giving you this device every year, and people know that it's there. Why? Because you give it to me every single year. If BlackBerry gives you the device every single year, and not every other year you're going to give me the Passport, or every other year you're going to give me the new Z whatever, then I know that you're relevant. I know your device is there. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, carriers will start putting the money behind it. Eventually, BlackBerry will start putting the money behind it, because people will start buying their devices more. You don't have to make this insurmountable number of these devices. You just have to make the device, period. You know what I'm saying? Like they did it with Passport.
Back to the point, Alex. There's because we're talking about like what BlackBerry is missing, and yeah, we could go on marketing, but Chris nailed it. He's like, you know, we don't see it. It really is very specific and tailored to specific markets. But I think what BlackBerry is missing is the ability to listen to people. And they're doing so much better with Chen, right? They're listening to their customers and really focusing on their enterprise needs. But with that said, there is still a big gap. How many times on Crackberry forums, on Twitter, or do we hear people saying, I want a BlackBerry all-touch? So John Chen says, all right, I hear you, but I'm going to give you a slider because keyboards are still what I do best. And it's like, no, just do what we want you to do. Same thing with the Passport, right? Everyone's like, oh, I want a keyboard with a bigger screen. And I'm like, let's give you a Passport. But
just release an all-touch device with some blown-out specs and a nice camera, and there you go.
And call it a day. Give a Me Too product to us. Give the people what they want, because like Jubei mentioned, like Darius mentioned, the consumers are the enterprise. The consumers will consume the enterprise. And really, really, the corporations nowadays, the smart ones, are moving away from BYOD because they're realizing, oh shit, this is not a good idea. Until these devices get fully certified to higher security standards, we need to go cope. We need to go with some of these other new enterprise mobility management solutions that are out there these days.
You know, as much as I want an all-touch device, I mean, they did the Z10, they did the Z30, and it just hasn't been selling that well.
Because you launched the device in Indonesia in the middle of the night with no marketing.
That's still, people will be edgy, or it'll still get to a point where it's just, honestly, if they developed another all-touch device and they pushed it out, people still wouldn't start buying it because of the app problems. There's enough problems there where people aren't going to buy it. They can't just do the Me Too product because there's only going to be the BlackBerry loyals like us that we want it. We will buy it. I'll buy 2 of them. I'll buy 3 of them. I'll have all my family members buy them.
Alex, that is a lie, Alex. Because we're on Verizon and no devices are going to get it.
No, I'm not going to say that, though, because I read more and more articles every day where people say they're less dependent on applications, like on like having to really live for these like you know, and such. I feel like if BlackBerry really does do what they're supposed to do, and they're already hitting it in terms of like having, you know, being able to use Android apps on these devices, that it has been pushed out. But yes, they can. It's like you look at Samsung, they dropped their flagship phone at the beginning of the year, then they dropped the Note at the end of the year. You know, you can drop, you know, whatever the all-touch devices at the beginning of the year, and then at the end of the year, you drop whatever the Passport would be, you know, the next iteration of such. And all you have to let people know is like, yes, you can run Android apps. You have all the access to these applications. It's not a thing. Essentially, over time, that you know, saying people catch on to it. You know, it's a lot of things that people say that we can't do, and then it's like you can do it, and then you make them an excuse like, well, even if they do it, they're not going to get it for, you know, such and such reason. But it's like you never know until you actually do it. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing you can really say until it's actually done. We can all sit here and beat a dead horse all day. We already
exactly. I would rather you try and fail and keep
Exactly.
going than not try at all and leave the market wanting something you cannot deliver to them. It's
Honestly,
stupid. Go ahead.
All that I want BlackBerry to do is go ahead and get their eggs in all the right basket. They need to go ahead, and it seems like Chen has something cooking. I'm gonna say it because it is what it seems like. It seems like Chen has something cooking in terms of the slider. What it is, we don't know as of yet. But here's the thing. What I want BlackBerry to do is go ahead, get all their eggs in their basket, and start counting them out, because they need to go ahead and get everything done accordingly and appropriately. The BlackBerry Android solution right now is not sufficient. It's not sustainable.
No,
you cannot keep it going like that. That is one problem, okay? That's one problem that helps actually sell devices. Right now, BlackBerry is out there. They're selling devices on the fact that people can use Android apps. But that solution is going to go away. There is a fundamental problem with that solution as it stands right now. They cannot continue to operate that way. They have to improve it and make it better in some way, or they have to essentially just go full Android. Because the app problem is arguably the biggest problem that they have on the platform itself. We know that people will buy BlackBerry devices. We know that there's people out there that miss their keyboards and they love the BlackBerry hardware, but it all comes down to one essential thing, and that comes down to the applications. You know, the majority of the time when people say that they don't want a BlackBerry, it's because it doesn't have the app that they want to essentially go ahead and use, right? So that's one problem that they have. The next, we could go through the list of the problems that they have, but the app problem is number one. They don't have that app problem.
I personally, I disagree. I don't think apps are the problem. I really don't. I think.
But that's the thing. You don't rely on a ton of apps, but there are people out there. You know, I don't rely on a ton of apps anymore because I have a BlackBerry and I don't see that.
I don't use apps because I have a BlackBerry.
Well, it's true though. I found
BlackBerry's campaign right there. We should have a picture of Chris
just like F
in Times
apps
Square on the billboard that says, "I don't use any apps because I use a BlackBerry."
It's Chris like screw apps. He's like
apps. What?
Oh, man.
But realistically, a lot of the stuff is integrated. Like all of that stuff is like my Dropbox and all that stuff is integrated. Everything that I use on a regular basis is pretty much integrated, right? But there are people out there that want those applications. So that's one big problem that BlackBerry has. They still have that problem, and they don't, as of right now, as we head into the BlackBerry Security Summit and the sliders coming out, we don't have a solution to that Android problem as of yet. Yeah. You know, there are people out there that want these applications, and telling them to sideload them, or
and they don't run all that great.
I mean, it's a very confusing mess.
Alex is very upset with how Tinder runs.
No,
how many people are frustrated that they can't run Snapchat on BlackBerry 10, right?
That's exactly what I want to bring up. There are 2 billion smartphone users worldwide. So say that there's about 200 million Snapchat users right now. It doesn't seem like a lot, but right there's 10% of the audience that will not buy a BlackBerry for the sole reason. That's 10%, which is a decent chunk. And then you start chipping away at it, like Slack. I have the Android Slack running on my Z30, and it runs like crap. They updated it, and it looks great, but it runs like crap. I can't even use Slack very well on my BlackBerry 10 device anymore, so I have to use a third-party version of it, and it doesn't run all that great. So it starts chipping away. Just one app not working or doesn't exist, it slowly chips away at the market share, and then
it's like, why now that BlackBerry's been in the game for a couple of years now, why can't BlackBerry get these core applications on the OS? You know what I mean?
There's not enough users.
But you know what? I really don't think it's that. It's just a simple fact. I don't think BlackBerry pays these developers.
No, you can't even, dude. You can't pay them enough. They're talking about like Snapchat. They're valued at like $16 billion because
I can't even get Alex to develop. Whoa, get a developers.
Snapchat, like these big companies, these companies that are valued at $20 billion, they are valued at that not because of their income, because of their users. They don't give a crap about their income. There's no way Snapchat is making anywhere near to become a valuation of $20 billion. Yeah, so they only care about having the users. So they're going to build a native Snapchat for BlackBerry to get 20 million more users. We're talking about 200 million using it. So for 20 million more, or are they going to expand, make the Android and iOS better and get more of that? It just doesn't make sense.
Because it almost goes back to that whole chicken and egg scenario there.
Yeah, right? It does.
Because you're on one end.
The chicken definitely came first, guys. Just
yeah, I'm with you on that one, James. So you're stuck, right? You're stuck between a rock and a hard place because on one end, BlackBerry's like, we have an ecosystem for developers to go into and develop native apps. But these developers on the other platforms are, well, we're already wildly successful on these two other platforms. Yeah. Why are we going to waste our time and energy and money making something for such a tiny market share? For what? We're already losing money. Twitter loses money. Snapchat loses money. None of these huge apps are making any money.
We're in a bubble right now.
Value is based on perception and how many their user base. That's it. They generate $0, and it's crazy. I don't get it, but that's just the way it is right now. And
dude, you bring up such a perfect point because like there's everyone complaining about, well, who gives a crap about Snapchat? A lot of our BlackBerry users are like, who cares about Snapchat? Yeah. That is the exact reason why Snapchat is not coming here. So we're talking about 20 million possible BlackBerry 10 users. Say that only 30% of those care about Snapchat, so they're going to come and get 6 million users.
And they say that, but they say that
for 6 million users, that's nothing. That's a drop in the bucket to them.
You say that out of rebellion because if the application was, native and available for your OS, you would definitely download it. You know what I mean? Like I'm tired of people really saying that they would not do this and that and the third because they don't have access.
My mom's not going to get Snapchat. There's going to be a small percentage of people.
It's one thing for like your mom not to use it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm telling you, it's like you have 20 million users, right? Let's say. Out of the 20 million, 8 million say they don't want it, but I guarantee you if the app was available, the 8 million say they didn't want it, 6 million of those 8 are going to get it, and the rest will get it as well.
That's exactly it.
But for Snapchat, their developer, that company is like, well, that's just not worth it. Give us...
Yeah, even if it wasn't full 20 million, that's our point. Yeah.
BlackBerry will come and say, how much do you want to bring Snapchat to our platform? Snapchat will be like, well...
You can't pay us enough. We want $2 billion because that's what the...
No, we're not going to give you that money to bring your app to our platform. That's ridiculous.
How is the stream so long? We go for half an hour, but we talk for like 2. How are we doing? Maybe because Alex puts us on Snapchat tangents that are meaningless to the BlackBerry conversation.
No, it's good conversation because realistically, I mean, these problems that we discuss are problems that have been in place since BlackBerry 10 has existed, right. And we as BlackBerry users expected some of them to get better, and in some cases they have, because we got the Android runtime implemented and everything like that. But like I said, it comes down to the point that the Android runtime is no longer a viable solution. It can't continue. So we have to look into that next. Into that next phase.
Right, they tried. Remember when BlackBerry 10 launched and they had this huge announcement? They were on stage, had the big screen in the back, and everyone's waiting. There's supposed to be an incredible surge of development for BlackBerry 10's ecosystem. And they stood on stage and they said a list of all these companies that were committed.
Yep, and none of them came, dude.
To BlackBerry 10, and it never happened. Yeah. They stood there, everyone was applauding, and it was like, these people are committed. Netflix is committed. They went through this whole crazy list, and it just never happened. Well, what happened?
Or they actually were committed somewhat to at least get their application into BlackBerry world, but it hasn't been updated since then.
Yeah.
Here's where part of our problem comes from when we do comparisons to like Android and iOS and stuff like that. We shouldn't be comparing BlackBerry to Android and iOS at this point in time, because those systems, those ecosystems, and those platforms are well ahead. We know that BlackBerry is not going to fundamentally catch up to them.
Compared to Windows.
Yeah, exactly.
They're having the same problem as us.
Yeah, exactly. We need to basically start comparing ourselves to Windows Phone at this point in time, which has all the, as Alex said, the exact same problems. They have apps in the Windows Phone store that haven't been updated in years. Yeah, they have them, but they haven't been updated in years. And that's the exact same with BlackBerry. When was the last time Flipboard was updated on BlackBerry? You know what I mean? It was never.
It came out.
And who has a better chance at getting apps, Windows or BlackBerry 10? I'm going to be honest for you for a second, because the Windows, they have a user base of 400 million people using.
Yeah,
it was. But it's about 300 million people who have PCs who want apps on their PCs.
But they got tablets. Alex, I mean, it's Microsoft. You know, that's a multi-billion-dollar.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Microsoft was handing out $100,000 a pop to people to basically bring their apps.
And they're building universal apps, so that apps that work on PC, tablet, and phone. So they're going from literally the opposite direction. Build an app for PC that works on tablet, that works on phone. You're great. People are going to start doing that because there's a large enough market share for PC and tablet, and the phone's just going to benefit straight from that. No, I'm just being realistic about it all.
Is that why you held up your Windows 10 before the phone?
No, Windows phones are not catching on. Windows phones are really not catching on right now. They're doing a great job with PC and tablet, but I'm just saying they have a better chance at getting apps on their phone than BlackBerry does because they're working the reverse route and they have the numbers.
They pay for Instagram, they pay for Vine, and the apps still aren't updated on time. So where's the money?
Still better than not having them.
All right, let me ask a very important question right now.
It's better than not having it at all?
Yeah.
That's a very important question. What are you eating, James?
Jester's made angel hair pasta. What else?
Come on, she can Jess come on and tell us what she made?
Inform us with what you have. It's delicious. I can't even comprehend how good it is. If Upstream wasn't on right now, my face would be...
quick word from the chef on what she made, no?
She's wiping her face. Give her a second.
I know, give me a second. I'm eating my food.
She's having dinner.
Okay, so I went ahead and made, crisp fried chicken within butter with garlic salt and pepper, and angel hair pasta with a cream, a dash of garlic,
cilantro.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. I could smell it from here. It smells delicious. You see, this is exactly what BlackBerry needs.
This is what BlackBerry needs. Content strategist right here.
Thank you, Jess.
No problem.
So let's talk about Carl succeeding John Sims, taking over the helm of BlackBerry's global sales initiative. This is the guy who's been over BBM. He's been over the enterprise gambit. Maybe a little bit too focused on enterprise, not getting BBM where it needs to be. What do you guys think about the appointment of Carl, who he pulled in as a VP over from Cisco?
Just another hire that he's familiar with. You know, he had John Chen. You talk connects, and he's got connects for days. So I think he's building in a team. He's bringing in a team and built a team with whom he's comfortable, with who he knows their ability, and feels like with his focus and the intent that he has for BlackBerry, they can get it done. He doesn't want to take the chance of taking a guy that has a good reputation, has, whatever credentials under his belt, but may not necessarily understand John Chen and his ideology of what he wants to do for BlackBerry as a whole. So he's bringing in these guys that he's very familiar with, I think, which is good, especially because he comes from Cisco. So where's the focus at? Software. It all makes sense.
IoT, yep.
Right. So it all makes sense, and of course it plays into that Internet of Things role that they have, that they're working on, so to speak, and building up as well. So, that's just been the trend that he's done. That's been the complete trend that he's been doing.
Well, I got something to say about this.
Here's the thing. Yeah, he's bringing his friends in, right? But he's also firing his friends.
Well, this is the thing, right?
An old compadre, and he's like, didn't get the job done, bye.
Right, because I met John Sin, spoke to him a couple times, I interviewed him, and I like the guy, right? And I told James this. I have no doubt in my mind the reason why John Sims is out is because he didn't know what to do with BBM. That's what I believe. I believe that he was there to take BBM and move and evolve into the next phase and become expanded and become widely adapted, adaptable and stuff in some capacity. It didn't happen. When we look at the last few reports that BlackBerry put out, the financials, BBM is just what? It remains like a negative. And Johnson's was directly responsible for that. And we all know Chen said, listen, you get it done or you're out. So this is what this is.
Ironically, do you think the best thing they could have done for BBM was to not monetize it at all yet? Because by monetizing it, they had to report numbers and show that it's really... Because like if Snapchat right now said, okay, let's start monetizing it, their numbers are going to be crap. You think they're still going to be valued at $16 billion? So like BBM may have been worth more money having not monetized it. I think just in this industry now.
I don't blame them for. This is my problem with what they've done with BBM. Well, one of them is that the way they try to monetize and the features and the way they just kind of staggered out with these different pricing plans is terrible. It's just a mess. Every other month we hear like some feature, we hear a beta. And then they say, "Oh, we could do this." Oh, great! And then remember that whole thing with the perfect example, customized pins. No one knew how to customize pins. They advertised it, and then everyone's on their devices going through the BBM app, like, "Where do I do this? How do I find this?" It got lost.
Yeah.
And then they saw the pricing plan. Wait, it costs how much a month?
And then the rumors went down to $1, and then it back up to $2, and then finally back down to $1.
It was just a mess.
I just got a friend request from Alex Bass on Facebook.
Dude, I realized I'd never added you on Facebook.
We're on BBM. We're never going to talk on Facebook. I care about your feed, Alex. I don't. But anyway, we're speaking about enterprise and...
Yeah, they messed it up. And then you get the consumers now. So they're there with BBM, and now the biggest talk is, oh, I'm not paying for BBM. All of a sudden, the idea of BBM just being widely free now became, oh, I don't want to pay for BBM. BBM is free. It's these other features that you got these premium features you got to pay for. But somewhere in that process, it got messed up. You know, that message wasn't clear, and people now are thinking, oh, I got to pay for BBM now, I'm not using it. And that's not the case at all. So it's just they've done such a terrible job with just a clear voice.
It's been such a plan. But, man, they've been trying to get those stickers to compete with WeChat and Indonesia and a lot of those other items out there. And it's neutered and kind of bastardized the experience we have on BBM, which is just productivity, communication, collaboration, and that's broken now, right? Now we have BBM meetings for collaboration and old asides where people can't get the full experience on like a Windows device as opposed to an Android. And
and then now it's like you introduced channels, you made this baby, and you completely neglected it since its launch. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And then you wonder why BBM is not taking off. You shot yourself in the foot, and now you're wondering why you're limping? Come on.
You bring up a good point, though, that the fact that, BlackBerry, they don't really have much to compare it to. I mean, WhatsApp is not really their charging scheme is just a joke right now. It's $1 a year that they really don't charge you. So then, like, who's another competitor? Well, iMessage is technically a big competitor. They don't monetize. Look at the competitors. They're really not monetizing. Yeah, we're talking about like Kakao and stuff, which is primarily like Chinese based, and they sell stickers and make a lot of money from that. But that's like a totally separate market. So they don't really have anyone in the U.S. market primarily to compare their platform with. How should they monetize? So they're the experimental ones right now. WhatsApp is probably watching BBM and saying, we shouldn't do this.
Yeah, you can't blame them either, right?
And the WhatsApp dev for BlackBerry 10 is watching Upstream, and he's like, yep. He's just laughing at us.
All the features for BBM, applying it, slapping on a WhatsApp, and reaping the benefits while BBM plummets.
It's sad because BlackBerry is like an innovative, it's this cluster of innovation. They're cutting edge, but they never lead the edge, as I've said before, and because they're not the ones actually like putting and pushing the market forward.
Yeah.
The apples and the apples.
I really think like that.
Robbed and pillaged.
Right.
I'm waiting
for WhatsApp to take the whole privacy chat. I think that's an incredible feature that is completely like.
The funniest thing is we actually took that from another IM client called Telegram. So, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
No harm, no foul, right?
Exactly. If Apple could do it, we can do it. That's. Yeah. So, Carl, taking over from Sims, do you guys feel like the appointment is going to be strong for BlackBerry, or do you feel like this is another guy who's going to come in for another 18 months and then be out the door? Like
that's where Carl.
This guy has the pedigree to get the job done.
That's for Carl to decide.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it seems as though that, as terrible as it sounds, it seems as though the BlackBerry has a little bit of a revolving door these days. People come, people go, and that's it. We've seen a lot of employees leaving. Some of our, I guess you could basically say, close friends leaving BlackBerry for some of us because Heidi left, Donnie left, Jeff left.
Luca's gone.
Yeah, Luca left.
Edwin's gone. I mean, they're all. Everybody. Cluley's still there, right?
Cluley is still there.
I wonder what Cluley's doing. Is he like trying to sit tight with Android, or is he messing with BlackBerry 10 still?
I don't know. He was off on vacation for a while, so.
He's trying to stay under the radar, probably.
It's sad. It's sad because people get at him on Twitter for every little thing BlackBerry is with their device. Like, my BB10 isn't connecting to Wi-Fi. Turn it off, please. What are you doing? And then he just gets so much flack. So I can totally understand him kind of receding. It's too much out there, man. Twitter's a nasty place.
Twitter's crazy. I mean, there's some days that I just don't even want. I'll look at Twitter, but I don't interact on Twitter because everybody reads your Twitter and then they just interpret their own meaning upon it. So, or
I'll put lyrics. James, are you okay?
Yeah.
Stop. I can't deal with you. So we talked about Carl. We talked a little bit about the device optimizations. Jubei glossed over it very, very briefly a little bit earlier when we were talking about the Z10 versus like a Passport and the seamlessness of the experience between those devices. Let's talk about acquisitions in IoT as we close out here. Do you really think that BlackBerry is going to acquire its future revenue streams, or is it going to build them organically? From what we've seen, it seems like a lot of their IoT and security push is all kind of we're going elsewhere to go get it. I think Microsoft just purchased a security cloud company for like $320 million a day. So everyone's, again, bolstering up this IoT kind of focus and platform for the future. BlackBerry with the Project Ion and the BBIoT seems to kind of have a grasp on what they want to do and how they're going to do it using QNX and some of their other intellectual property. But again, the question to you guys is BlackBerry going to build organically their future, or are they going to kind of steal it from elsewhere and integrate it into what their focus is?
It's
Seems
funny.
like they're going to buy them.
Acquihire. Yeah, I'm going to just take them.
No,
right?
it makes all the sense, right? Because you look at it, like IoT, like 10 years from now, right, will start being it's going to be everything. So they don't want to, they kind of look at these big companies like BlackBerry, Microsoft, whomever else that plays in the IoT game. They're looking at these smaller companies that have these small startups, and they kind of take note from the social media game, right? How Facebook was coming up, and then you had Twitter. Like, they want to be like that next thing. So if they can buy it before it blows up, then they will do that by all means, because they don't want to have this guy that comes, from out of nowhere who's the star of the show. So they try to buy all these little IoT startups or companies who can play a huge part in their overall IoT picture that they want to create. It's like, why not go get those guys? But at the same time, you really don't want to leave any person out there who could be the dark horse. It makes sense, but I really feel like that's what a lot of them are doing. Even IBM, whomever, like, as I mentioned, who's playing in the IoT game, they just want to catch these guys before they really make something huge and be like, damn, we should have thought of that first, but they didn't. So they just, try to buy them out before they even make any noise happen.
What do you think, Jess?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So, Jess, I'm interested in this because what kind of iPhone are you using?
I'm using an iPhone 4S. They stopped making chargers for me.
That's Apple. That's Apple's FU. So,
Yeah.
so you I'm big on BlackBerry, right? We're all here
No,
big
I
on.
had no idea.
I know. So, for you,
Yeah.
not knowing me, what's your impression of BlackBerry, and what would you want to see them do to just be more visible?
Well, I will also ask her like what she thinks is missing.
Yeah,
Like,
what do you think is?
what's
I
that?
don't think she even sees it to that depth that we do to see what's missing. That's the problem, right? It kind of sums up. But
And I'll
what's
totally
your-
accept BlackBerry's not sexy as an answer because I get that.
I mean, it's so bulky. Like,
Well, not the device itself. I just meant in general.
BlackBerry in general, just like
Yeah.
as
What's
a
your
brand-
perception?
as a brand that
it doesn't
exists in the world-
exist, in my opinion. No one
Okay.
talks about it. No one I know talks about it. I feel like the only people who talked about it were like
I'm right here. I'm
the only people who talked about it.
That's the one Jacksonville representative
Oh,
right there.
I doubt it.
Middle-aged businessmen. That's like
It's me.
who like work
James
clip-on
doesn't
belts.
exist.
Yeah. No, that's so true. That it's people's perception is BlackBerry's dead. Why would you buy a brand that's dead? I don't blame people for not buying BlackBerry because their perception is that they're dead. So
Or
makes
they're on their
sense.
way out, right?
yeah.
Right. 1 foot.
Why invest in a phone that probably isn't going to exist in a year and a half or whatever?
Yeah,
Right?
and especially if you get made fun of by friends who have iPhones and Android, if you have the BlackBerry and they actually make fun of you, why put up with that crap, you know?
People joke about that, but I mean, that realistically, people are that superficial, right? Like, it comes down to that. Like, people do care about that. Just like with apps. Everybody's like, well, why don't you like, why would you ever possibly need Snapchat? Well, I need Snapchat. Don't question why I need it. I just want Snapchat.
Just
Yeah.
for the record, Jess, I know that you said that the Passport is bulky, but this is the slimmer, smaller version here. It's really...
Girl friendly.
Not really.
I
Why
mean,
not?
Still not really that attractive to me. I don't even use keyboards.
Keyboard probably isn't sleek and attractive, you know?
I
Wait
figured
for the
girls
slider.
might-
Wait for the slider.
Let me get my red Z10 out.
I always thought that females would appreciate QWERTYs a little bit more than men because the nails get in the way of that touchscreen and typing. It's kind of it's really difficult and challenging to try to get that typing experience.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. Yeah, no, I'm not a normal female though. I'm sorry. I'm really different.
Oh, okay.
She's the man. Now you know.
I'm very
This
beautiful.
is not that kind of podcast.
James is like, I concur.
Alex is censoring us, guys. That's so for you, the brand is just dead. You know, no one's talking. So they would need to. What would move you to a BlackBerry if more of the people you knew were on them? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
But I mean,
So you're a follower.
they're not going to though. I don't know. It's just like I think it's probably the keyboard though. A lot of people really like touchscreen. I mean,
And they have touchscreens too.
Yeah.
They just didn't sell either. So kind of like a.
So I think the answer to this question is that they really just don't care.
And I don't.
That's what it-
No, that's. I think I agree with Darius. I think that people don't care, and BlackBerry has not given a reason for people to care.
And I'm gonna say this, right? Because my wife, right? She just recently left Sprint. She went to T-Mobile, and it's not about the service, right? But it's about this phone, right? She had a iPhone 5S, so she gets to T-Mobile. She has the chance to upgrade, move on to the iPhone 6 if she wanted to. I asked her personally. I said, "Why is it that you want the iPhone?" She said, "I don't know because I had one beforehand." I said, "Is it the applications? What is it? You know, what is it that you're looking for your phone to do?" Because I easily could have gave her my Z30. She could have used it. Cool. No. She's just like, "I don't know. I just want an iPhone because, I don't know, everybody else has an iPhone, and it's just easy for me to communicate with them because they have an iPhone."
You remember when BlackBerry was a status symbol? I mean, everybody had a BlackBerry, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the answer. BlackBerry is no longer the status symbol. The iPhone is the status symbol.
Right. And you have
Like
very
the
few
Apple
people that-
Watch, right?
Right. You have few people that, I don't want to say few people. There's a lot of people that want different and cheap. So what is their alternative? They go to Android. So on the contrary, it's one of two things. You either want something that's different, you want something that's cheap, or you want something that everyone else has. You don't.
Because I think that Android, what you said, Darius, is the solution for a lot of people because it's different, not entirely different. It's very familiar. You still get the alt touch. You still get the same paradigm that the iPhone works in. It's almost virtually the same thing. So you get that different, but not so different. BB10 is different.
Yeah, it really is. And
Darius just wants some transitions and some translucency.
You know,
Darius basically wants BBOS back, basically.
It's funny because I was just I'm sorry, I went outside for a cigarette, so my microphone may have changed. But it's funny. Maybe. It's funny because I was just thinking about that. Like, what if BlackBerry brought back some of the because the majority of people that I know like Android because of the customability options and shit like that, right? So what if BlackBerry brought back some of the stuff from BBOS, such as themes and those customization options, and they opened up a lot of those APIs for developers to essentially go ahead and create some of the apps that we previously had. I can't think of any great examples at the present moment. But like all of those call blocking apps and stuff like that, like yeah, we have a few call blocking apps on BlackBerry 10, and they work rather well, but they don't work like BlackBerry OS apps used to. What if BlackBerry reverted and actually opened up some more of those customization options and stuff like that?
Chris, I don't think it could hurt any more than where they are now.
Exactly. Like, why not? Pooter Mobile could go back to building themes for BlackBerry 10, right? All these developers could go back to doing that. I feel as though, like, even though it only comes down to, like, just themes, I feel as though that with BlackBerry 10 not having those customizations, a lot of love was lost for the platform when it comes to that sort of thing, because it was there. It was easily accessible. If you didn't like the look of your phone, you just downloaded a brand new theme, right? Plus, it created a companionship with a lot of the developers out there, because people were sharing their themes and people were like teaching other people how to go ahead and create themes for BlackBerry at that point in time. There was a mutual, quote unquote, love there within the community, and I feel like some of that was lost with the compatibility in moving to BlackBerry 10. None of that stuff is there anymore.
So pretty much you're saying we expect an article coming from you soon? No, I mean, it's just exactly what we said earlier. It's just like, you don't never know until they actually try it. And these days that we're trying, it's not like it's something that is completely unreal or just out of this world. It's just like, it's really kind of just an idea that has been used before, but hasn't been used by BlackBerry with this platform. And it's a lot of things that they can really just try. And if it doesn't work, I mean, whatever. It's like, stop being cheap. You've been cheap for like 3 years. Spend a little.
That's the truth. You ain't never lied, Darius. You ain't never lied. I said up to number 23. You lied there, but. So I think we killed it tonight, gentlemen. I don't know how we milked an hour out of that. I really do not know, but. I
think we stepped it up from the beginning too. Plates crashing, no one realizing we're live.
No, we didn't.
Okay, so Jess is cooking. She turns the front burner on, thinking she put the back one on. Put a plate in the front burner. The plate got so hot that it exploded.
No way.
Wow. Yeah. I was like,
just like one small flame. That's about it.
Just enough to pop.
Well, I'm glad it didn't like explode and cut her stomach open.
That's what I said. I was like, good thing it didn't like impale her, because I would have kept going. I'd have been like, Alex,
I'll take over.
Can you move her outside? Well, I really appreciate having you guys on. Editor-in-Chief at Crackberry, Blaze, is always phenomenal to have on. One of these days we will see his face again, but because most of our viewers
we're
actually
gonna
listen
take a picture together for BerryFlow, Chris.
Yeah. I want to see. We have the security summit in 4 days, guys. So literally less than a week. Blaze and Joubert are both going to be there for the event. They'll be covering it. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you guys can sit down for a little bit, get a drink, and do like a BerryFlow one-on-one with both of you guys. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, we can do that. I'm staying an extra night in New York, so.
That's what I'm talking about, Chris.
Yeah,
I'll be there.
Let's make it happen, guys.
Jabay asked me earlier this week. He was like, "Are you wearing like a suit or anything?" I'm like, "No, but I promise I'll take off my hat."
That is a big commitment from you. So we take what we can get. At this
right.
So, Chris, before we close, man, tell us about you had a fledgling dream here to get a BlackBerry passport from Canada, and you actually succeeded. How'd that happen?
Oh, yeah. This is an interesting scenario,
Yeah, really
and
it is.
probably, I mean, really, it should be written up as like a help or how-to, or pretty much what not to do, because it's very, very stupid. But I was awake one night. I was playing around with one of my AT&T passports, and I couldn't remember the password for my BBID, so I essentially reset the BBID. But when the email came through, I wasn't fully awake. I honestly don't know what happened, like in terms of how the whole scenario went out. But ultimately, what it came down to was that I ended up deleting the BBID that was actually associated to the device. Yeah, and if you actually look on the BlackBerry knowledge base, in big, bold, red letters, it tells you do not delete your BBID if you have BlackBerry Protect turned on. And the device was running 10.32.
Oh my
so
God.
essentially, I was locked out of the device. The device is still toasted. Like
She's a brick.
yeah, it's pretty much a paperweight. I can't get into it at this point in time. There's no way around it, anything like that. I spoke to
There's one way.
Yeah.
There's one way. Send it to Kevin. He'll swap out the motherboard with a brand new motherboard.
Yeah, that's one way. But anyways,
Yeah.
I spoke with BlackBerry about it, and they were like, "No, we can't do it. Can't unlock it." I was like, "It's pretty much easier just to go ahead and send you a new device at this point." So they shipped me out a new device, but the device that I actually got sent out in the replacement, I started noticing differences. Like it came, and I was like, "Oh, cool, okay." I set everything all back up. My BBID was perfectly fine and everything like that. And I started looking at the device, and I'm like, this seems like slightly different. So I got what is essentially an AT&T passport, but it doesn't have an AT&T logo on it, and the device was actually made in Canada, which is kind of rare for an AT&T passport. Like if you go through, the majority of them are actually made in Mexico.
Yeah.
Only like the early pre-production build devices were essentially built in Canada, and the ones that they export to different countries were made in Canada. So I ended up with
selling off the stock, and they had to go make you one real quick in Canada and send it over. That's why they're selling out.
Yeah, that's.
I can see Kiyomi like building it herself.
Yeah, I got an unbranded AT&T passport that was made in Canada, which is, to me, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really mean a whole lot. But being Canadian and having that love affair with BlackBerry and some sense of national pride, I was quite happy to get BlackBerry passport made in Canada. Yeah, and
I'm gonna go delete my BlackBerry ID.
Ultimately, it serves as a warning. Don't delete your BlackBerry ID ever unless you have BlackBerry Protect turned off and disabled, because you will essentially lock yourself out of the device and you will not be able to get back in.
It's such an upside yet a downside. Like if someone physically steals your device, it's a brick to them. People are getting shot over people stealing iPhones and things. So if you stole my BlackBerry and it was a brick to you after that point, then it's such a useful deterrent for somebody from stealing
If you
it.
steal my BlackBerry, I'm gonna come to your house.
Don't do that. That's where a kid just got killed the other day because of that.
Yeah, I mean, even now they started putting up warnings like on the at least BlackBerry has like the BlackBerry Protect. We encourage you to contact the police if your device was stolen. Do not try and initiate contact with whoever.
And there's that application that like takes a photo of the person's face, like when the phone. It's like, we'll go find this guy. Let me drop this photo on Google image search and find out who they are. So,
I just don't understand what happened. Like, like I said, I can't even explain the process. But somehow I managed to delete the PBID, And if I can do it, then I'm sure somebody else can do it. So
Yep.
let it stand as a warning. Make sure you don't mess around with BlackBerry Protect. Make sure it's disabled.
Definitely do up a post on that, man, because that needs to be out there for people.
Yeah.
Once you go 10.3.2, you do not go back. That needs to be out there. So I'm looking at this tablet here, and I wonder what could happen if BlackBerry goes Android. Is the playbook going to get revived?
Stop! No, their book is just done. Stop.
And with that, episode 57 is over. Appreciate having everybody on. Stokes, Jubei, Alex, Chris, as always, great to have you guys on. Your commentary is much appreciated by the community and myself. We always have a great time on these things. We'll see you next week again, 4 days till the Security Summit. So our next Upstream will follow up with some info, insight, and maybe Blaze and Jubei one-on-one. We'll see what happens with that. See what Jubei does.
That sounds... All right, whatever.
Not like that, man. I mean, Chris is spoken for. I don't know about you, Jubei, but I don't know about you.
I'm in if he's in.
I'm on my off month, okay? I'm keeping you peace.
Everyone say bye, Jess.
Bye,
Bye, Jess.
All right, everyone. She's making dessert right now, so
It's a pear tart.
it's a pear tart. So
I thought you were the dessert.
shh.
We have to get off. Sign up.
Pear? It's awful. And